We're back.
Hello.
It is Oliver and Lena here from the Earful Tower. We're taking you into the second half of the Paris countdown.
Did you miss us?
Did you?
I hope so.
You've come for the 12th episode, meaning we're in the 9th arrondissement.
Well, that's confusing.
It is confusing.
Yeah.
We're in the 9th arrondissement today, famous for, it's the first time we really got into touristy Paris. But it's also famous for Pigalle, which we're going to talk about all this in a second. But an Earful Tower episode of the Paris Countdown would not be an Earful Tower episode of the Paris Countdown without some music from Press Maxon. This is his version of Place Pigalle by Maurice Chevalier. Let's do it. Maxon's done it again.
I know.
He's done it again.
What a whiz.
This song that he did, a classic, but he's taken it a step further, you know?
Yeah.
So he said, for the 9th it's Place Pigalle, but for the longer YouTube version I snuck in a little nod to the opera. Of course, it's Carmen by Georges Bizet, who, as we know, lived in the 9th as well.
I love it.
And, I couldn't help but to skim ahead to hear this little bit. I'll play it for you guys so you don't, still watch the YouTube video, but,
yeah, please.
But so you can get a taste of what he's talking about.
Jazzy.
It is jazzy. Yeah. There are a lot of this is a district of note. There is a lot of.
This is what we talked about walking around. We tried to figure out like a really good headline for this arrondissement, and we got stuck on music.
It's kind of the theme. It really is the theme. And what we figured, by the way, before we get into this district and what we did there, we've had a 2-week break where we sort of took stock of everything so far.
Yeah, figured out intermission.
Yeah, figured out how to continue with the second half. And the biggest change you guys are going to notice is we're not doing the hotels anymore.
No.
Kaput.
Why, you may wonder? Well, it's because we just figured that it didn't really add much to the whole discovery, the whole project.
If we went to a cafe, we were giving as much attention to the cafe as the hotel.
Yeah.
Hotel is about 450 times more expensive. Also, it turns out a lot of tourists are in Paris this summer because everyone can come. Finally.
And since we're doing a countdown, we're getting to the most expensive neighborhoods as the season really hits, in full bloom, basically.
So what we did in this case is we went out to the 9th very, very early in the morning and left very late at night. So it's not quite 24 hours, but it's the same thing.
It is a full day.
The other thing that we're going to do a little bit differently is we're going to make sure we focus on the vibe of the area. We're not just going to talk about the cafe that we went to.
Not just addresses.
No, not just addresses. Also, as usual, this episode brought to you by Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/The Earful Tower.
Pretty cool place.
Well, thank you to all the members that are there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a push for new people this week. I'm going to say thank you to the people who are there.
That's nice.
And a big welcome to all the new faces. So the 9th. First time we got really touristy. And it was at the Opera.
Yeah.
The Opera, the Opera Garnier. Now, pay close attention, everyone at home. There are 2 operas in Paris.
Yeah, this is the old one.
The old, famous, beautiful.
Yeah, with gold statues on the roof. You know the one?
Just beautiful. And it's been on my bucket list for ages to go in during the day.
I know. We hadn't done that.
Many years ago, we went for a show.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
No.
Me neither.
No, I have no idea what it was.
But it was beautiful to go in there for a show and everyone was dressed up nice and everything. But what we did this time is we just went in the middle of the day and explored it. Tickets cost something like around 12 euros to get in. Very cheap. But it's the first time on this whole season of exploring Paris that we've been in crowds of people. And it wasn't very nice. It wasn't.
Well, no, but it was still worth it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I think the advice would be to go like maybe as it opens.
You don't want to be mixing with too many other tourists when you're in Paris. You want to be getting off the beaten track.
Yeah.
So either go for a show and rock up early, or get in there early for a self-guided tour like we did. I know you can do tours as well, but I think...
I thought it was really nice just to be able to walk around freely and discover at your own pace.
My tip that I'd never done before is if you go to the back, sort of... I didn't know that you can go out on the balcony.
I had no idea there was a balcony.
Yeah.
And I had no idea there was a whole golden room.
Well, that golden room, the Salon du Glacier, the foyer, painted by Clairin.
Yeah.
That chap, yeah.
Like that.
But it was just really beautiful. And knowing that it would be the most picturesque part of our stay.
Mini Versailles.
Yeah, indeed. That's when we brought Augusta, the photographer, who took lovely snaps as usual, including some places around.
Yeah.
I got a message the other day from someone in the Facebook group for members. Alex, his name is, and he said, I've been binge listening, and you keep talking about how nice the photos are. Where do I find them?
Oh.
So, firstly, the social media, Instagram, Facebook, they're there. But the blog posts are what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's where you're going to...
earfultower.com.
Yeah, that's where you'll find the big part.
And when they look small, you click them and make them big. They fill up your whole screen. And there are beautiful pictures of the opera to come. Now, nearby, the way that the 9th is sort of spread out, it's kind of like a big square. And if you were to visit, there's kind of very different feelings in it.
Different neighborhoods within that square.
Yeah, in the southwestern squares, when you find the opera, the big department stores, Lafayette and Printemps.
Yeah, so it's just bigger and more touristy, more like way more hustle and bustle. Like it feels more businessy and
businessy too.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it. Very beautiful, big Haussmannian buildings right behind the Opera House. You could spend a whole day on those 5 streets around there. Boulevard Haussmann. You heard a French person say it before? They say Haussmann. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But you could go to. We didn't go into Lafayette, the big famous department store. Super worth a visit.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the first time where we really felt that we didn't have enough time.
And it's going to keep being like that.
Yeah,
as
and we had to be ruthless, and it was like, oh no, it's such a shame because there are so many places that we wanted to fit in that we really like, especially since we kind of lived in the neighborhood.
I know.
And know it really well and have our personal favorites and couldn't feature it all.
It was really I could do a whole blog post and a whole episode about what we didn't see, and it sucks because I want to mention a bunch of things now.
I know. I know.
Like I'm going to mention one, and I knew this is one of the main things. We didn't visit this place because you can't take photos or videos there.
Yeah, so it's pointless.
Yeah, but for this story, I want to give it a shout out. The headquarters of the Société Générale, the bank across from Lafayette. It was recommended to me in an episode on this show. You have to go in there. It's a bank. It's beautiful. It's like Gringotts from Harry Potter, but you can't take pictures.
Yeah.
So
the secret stays.
So we didn't go there. We went to Printemps.
Yeah.
We went to the top. There's a nice restaurant on the top. There is a beautiful coupole dome.
Stunning.
Yeah. Interior. Same with Lafayette has one as well. But my point is, you can hang out in those areas all day. You could go to the department stores, you can go to the opera, you can walk around that little theatre district. There's an old restaurant, Café de la Paix, like Paix, that is stunning inside.
Yeah, it's one of those old, iconic cafes where writers and artists and painters and, used to hang out.
So if you've got a big budget, and if you're in the mood for the grand, elegant Paris, that's where you want to be.
That's your corner.
That's your corner of the 9th. And even if you're broke, you can go and peek around there. But if you're on more of a budget, I would recommend you go to the whole north part of the 9th, which is where we spent pretty much the rest of our time.
Yeah, towards the evening.
Yeah, and the morning. We went out in the morning for a brunch at Papy, which is a really brilliant place. All this is going to be on the blog. We went for coffee at KB, my old favorite place. And here's a story I want to share with everyone that I've not talked about on the podcast before. When you're sitting at KB Coffee Shop, big shout out to those guys. You and I, oh my gosh.
Best.
We've been there so many times.
Yeah.
We used to walk up there when we lived in the second arrondissement. It used to be our favorite coffee shop.
It was like the first,
our first hangout.
Favorite coffee spot.
I used to meet listeners there. I bet there's some listeners. In the days when in the early days of the podcast, whenever someone would message me and be like, I'm coming to Paris, I listened to your show, I'd be like, let's meet!
Yeah, let's go there.
And then now I'm really busy. It doesn't happen so much. But KB used to hang out. Nico from KB did the catering at the embassy party that I hosted.
Such a nice guy.
Anyway, go there for coffee, but here's my secret earful tip. If you're sitting there on the terrace, sipping on your flat white, keep an eye directly across past the carousel. There's a big gated, what would you call it?
Gated community or
Gated
like
community,
private streets?
Private street. It's called Cité Malherbe. It's spelt like males, as in
Males.
opposite of females,
Yeah.
and then herbs with an extra E there.
Males herbs.
Yeah, males herbus. But just watch to see if that gate opens, because if it does, do what I did and ditch
Run
your coffee.
for it.
I filmed it as well. Run across the street. It's probably about, it's going to take about 100 steps, but the gate opens really slowly.
It's so funny because I'm so used to this, like hanging around with you. Like just, every once in a while you just like run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny. And I'm like, okay, well.
Got to get in those
there
gates.
There he goes.
This one is really particularly good because I'm not the best describer. Maybe you can help me on this one. But like when the gates open, it looks like any typical sort of Paris gated community. But you got to walk about halfway down. Firstly, just getting halfway down, you see these little details like intricate, ornate door knockers, beautiful doors.
Yeah.
Different to the usual kind of Paris doors because it's. They can sort of get away with more because the public aren't walking past it every night. But the real stunner is halfway down the street on your left-hand side. I wish...
Try to describe it,
Okay.
because I can't... I've been there, but it was like so many years ago, so I can't remember what it
Well,
is.
I know I've got a picture of it in front of me to help me. It's kind of... You know what it reminds me of? You know that church, the Saint-Germain church?
Yeah.
The Abbey.
Yeah.
The oldest church in Paris. And they've repainted the interior, beautiful sort of blues and...
Yes, it's quite vibrant.
Yeah, imagine that on a building, kind of.
Yeah, you don't
right?
really have a lot of that in Paris. It's usually a lot of grey and a lot of beige and white, but
I can see the names on it. The architect, J. Olivier, was the painter. So there's a painter. It's kind of like...
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen this building.
Well, I don't think...
Maybe I haven't been there.
I'd say most people haven't seen this building. The
It's
whole
amazing.
facade, I've got a picture of the whole thing in front of me. The whole facade, like 4 stories tall, at least 3 or 4 stories tall, is painted like the interior of a church on the outside, and in incredibly intricate details on the facade.
Yeah.
And the windows, look at the windows are arched. It is very churchy, isn't
It
it?
really is.
And then, if you're lucky, I wasn't lucky, a little bit further down, there's like a turreted castle building. It's like a...
Really?
Yeah, it's like a cylindrical building with a domed turret on the top, but it's under total construction, reconstruction, they're renovating. In fact, I talked to one of the builders about it.
No.
I was like, what's going
What
on
did he
here?
say?
I don't know.
Hanging out.
We're like the wonders of the night. But anyway, get in there if you can. Don't say I sent you, because it's private. You know what? I just remembered. I got a funny email. I'm going to read it to you about sneaking into courtyards. Hello there. It's from Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
She says, hello there, medium-time listener. Which
I love that. Very honest.
Everyone begins with long-time listener.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
even if they're not.
Yeah, I think they know they'll get in more likely to be read out. Medium-time listener for about a year. Is that medium?
I'd say long.
You really? It's been going for 5
Yeah,
years.
but, I mean, a year.
Okay, we'll give medium as anything
Have you
between...
done anything for a year? I went running once, and I call myself a runner. No, I don't.
I moved here in 2021 for school. I'm so happy to have found your podcast and people who are incredibly interested in the layers of Paris. That's me. But she continues, blah, 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 blah. She says, a friend of mine who also listens to your show told a tourist to go and check out all the open doors of the city. The family did so, and they lost their son who followed this advice and couldn't figure out how to exit the building.
What do you mean?
Couldn't find the
lost?
button to push.
serious?
Anyway, thank you, Natalie. So I don't know.
Oh my God. How did the story end?
I don't know. I think the
I love it. Anyway, thank you.
yeah, it's
Is that how she
kind
made
of
it?
passive aggressive. Maybe the son met a French person and lived
Oh my
happily ever after
God.
in a courtyard.
No, he's like Harry Potter under someone's stairs
Oh
now.
no! I think I should add when you do sneak into a courtyard of Paris. I should have been saying this for 5 years. To get out again, there's
There's a
usually a
button.
button, and it usually says a word like porte, P-O-R-T-E.
Yeah.
And you press that, and it opens automatically. Sorry about that. Anyway, City Malherbe.
That's so funny.
Night fell.
As it often does.
As it often does. We wanted to check out Pigalle. Now, we mentioned earlier in the episode that we talk about the vibe of the district a little bit. And we also mentioned it was a district of note. And that's because there really is a strong music scene in the night.
There's a whole music area there.
Well, that's it.
Lots of
that's
music, instrumental shops,
shops that are instrumental in providing instruments for the locals.
Yes.
But there's that all along Pigalle is music shops. It's probably the best. It's certainly the best place to get musical instruments or whatever in Paris. But there's also the old school music scene. So there is the opera that we talked about, but there's also all these old composers lived there. So we saw the Offenbach.
Yeah.
Lived on Rue de Martyrs.
Yeah. If you watch the YouTube video, you can see, you'll hear a very
excellent.
Yeah, sure. Joke.
Yes.
About said composer.
Yeah, Offenbach. You probably already figured out what the joke was, but Offenbach was there. As Press said, Bizet was there, and his house, at least where he composed Carmen, is now a nightclub.
Oh yes, that's true. Now we didn't go this time. We've been before. But it's, very
it's got
cool.
Like a cage in it where someone maybe dances.
Yeah.
So, nighttime Pigalle is very different from daytime. When you're there in the day, it's like there's good restaurants and there's cool sort of...
Yeah, it's a modern vibe.
But when it gets to nighttime, it gets a little bit exciting. This is where the sex district... I say sex district. It's nothing like Amsterdam or whatever, but it's all the...
You get the erotic shops.
Adult shops, across from the Moulin Rouge, across the boulevard.
Exactly.
You get...
and I'd say it's mostly touristy.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Really?
I've always wondered who goes into the... Because there are
I feel like you only see giggling tourists walking in there.
But there are also
Not
the
that
swingers
I hang out
clubs.
I don't know.
Your face in the video, you sneezed when you went past, remember? I was filming Lena walk past the sexodrome.
Yeah, I got embarrassed.
No, but there are these secrets. I don't know what they are. They're like nightclubs for swingers. There will be some listeners who know.
And some saunas.
We should do an episode about it with someone who's gone. I've never been to these kind of places.
Yeah. So if you see a sauna, it's not just like a sauna. It's a special kind of sauna.
But we used to live right on the edge of this place, and it wasn't giggling tourists coming out of those places. It was people that came out and tried to fade directly into the day or the night.
Yeah. And
there's sex
day.
clubs there. That's what that is. Yeah.
Interesting area.
Yeah. I wrote about it. When I came to Paris, I remember because there was the big DSK story, the politician who got into trouble. That's a whole different story. But he was like a swinger or whatever. He goes to all these sex clubs, and I wrote something like a feature on the sex clubs of Paris. I didn't go to any, but I had no idea this whole world was there. But it's like couples go in there, and it's like it's a whole different thing, whole different episode that we're not going to do. But it's a big part of that district. Like that district
for sure.
is.
It really.
Tell about that hotel that you stayed at.
What hotel?
When you came here with your parents.
Oh my god. Oh, so the first time I came here to Paris with my whole family, my whole family, I was 15, I think. And I don't know why, but I got in charge of booking the hotel.
Was there
or
internet
something.
then? Did you do internet?
Yeah, it was early days, at least for me. Like, I didn't really know my way around internet.
Yeah.
So I managed to find... What was it? I can't even remember my own story now.
I think it was a hotel that you paid by the hour.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
And you were like
that.
this is cheap. We'll get out early.
And it was, now coming back to Paris, or when I moved here, I came back to those areas and I was like, oh my God, it was here. It was around here. It all makes sense.
I think you'd got a normal hotel, but in a really sleazy area.
Yeah.
And from what people have told me the past 10, 20 years, that place has really cleaned up its act. And
now it's like young, trendy, cool instead of like gross and seedy.
It's a really perfect segue into two things, actually. One is where we went for the final cocktail. Ties in really nicely with that.
Yeah, it does.
But before we get to that, I wanted to say that I remember when I interviewed Caroline de Maigret, the supermodel, the face of Chanel.
That's right.
And I did a walk show with her in Pigalle. And I remember, because she lives there and she's like, she knows it really well. And I remember saying, why did you choose this area? And she said, if you find a part of the city, in any city, where the music is, where the music's being sold, where people are playing music, you can buy a guitar, that's the cool place. And that's where she wanted to be.
I love that. And she's with a musician.
That's
isn't
right,
she?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yarol, who's cool. I met him. He's going to be on the show. He played with Johnny Halliday. He was the guitarist with Johnny Halliday. This is something I've got to do. But the segue was to where we had a cocktail after sort of ducking around to some other places. It's called and this is a great tip. And a shout out to Lida, a listener who introduced us to this place. Maison Souquet.
And it's a small boutique hotel.
Yep. 5-star. You wouldn't want to stay there if you're on a budget. I think because when I googled it to find directions to it, it comes up in like on the map with the price. And it's like 800 euros a night or something.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, almost dropped my phone. Glad. You know what? Actually, when we started this season, this was one of the hotels that I was thinking would be cool to stay in because the history is cool. It was,
and it so perfectly represents the area.
Indeed.
Because we haven't even brought it up yet.
Because it was built in 1905 in the style, the Art Nouveau style, I guess, of a brothel. It's a brothel.
It used to be a brothel.
Yeah, it used to be. Whoops. Yeah. Used to be a brothel. It's not anymore. So
but it's really kept like the same. So yeah, it's inspired by that still.
But very beautiful.
Yeah,
like
very
it's
classy.
Not like if I'm thinking when we stayed in the 17th, we weren't going to stay in, but we found like one of these hotels that was all like gross, like leather with jacuzzis and cheap champagne and stuff.
Yeah, it was more like swingers.
No, this is, imagine 120 years ago, like one of the Belle Epoque times in Paris. Very low lighting, these velvet...
red velvet upholstered sofas and like heavy curtains everywhere.
Like proper beautiful artwork on the walls.
A lot of nude artwork.
I didn't even notice.
Yes.
Sticking to the theme.
Little courtisan kind of hints.
Yes. And
but it's really well made, and the cocktails are superb.
Lena and I are so far from cocktail snobs, by the way.
Yeah.
We're so far from cocktail snobs.
I mean, you might as well find us in like, the cheap corner.
Yeah. Which we did also.
Bar.
Yeah, we did afterwards.
Exactly.
But it's But
you can appreciate it.
Even an idiot can appreciate a great cocktail compared to a really bad one. And this was right up there with all the ones we've had. Especially the vibe. Last week or the last episode we talked about going places for the story.
It's so nice.
Go next door to this place if you're on a budget. Go anywhere else. But if you can afford a cocktail was maybe 20 euros or 25 euros or something like that, you'll come out with a story. And then around there are cool other places to go. We had a quick drink at the Mansart, which is it's
such a favorite in the area. Like everyone knows it, everyone meets there. It's a real classic. Everyone.
If you guys track down, I'll link to it. The video that I did with Caroline, we started right out the front of that place because that's I think our local.
Yeah,
And then we had dinner on the go as well. I want to give a shout out to Dumbo. I'd never been there before.
No, another cool place.
It's one of these places with a queue out the front, kind of hipster cool place.
You can't eat in, so it's just takeaway.
That surprised me, and also the menu surprised me.
I know, had no idea.
The menu on one side says cheeseburger,
and
on the other side says fries.
And that is it.
That's it. They can make what look like 8 at a time, something like that.
Yeah, but they literally have cheeseburger and fries.
Yeah, just making cheeseburger and fries.
I loved it.
Flipping the burgers.
And you eat on the go.
Well, we did.
Or just hang out, like lean against the wall outside.
Okay, before we get into our scores, here are 4 places that we either did visit or didn't visit, but need a shout out for if you're planning a trip. 1, Rue des Martyrs.
Oh my God.
Elaine Chelino called it the only street in Paris. Not true, Elaine. There's a lot more to Paris.
But it's a must. It's a must visit for the 9th or even for Paris.
Start at
it's
KB
lovely.
Coffee Shop, walk up it.
There's a Swedish candy shop like quite far down the street, and it's excellent.
Expensively
excellent.
It's almost cheaper to fly to Sweden.
And it's the only place in Paris where you can find salt licorice, and it's a must.
That's true. It is a must.
For me.
Doesn't mean that it tastes good, but it's a must. More quick shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Passage Jouffroy, which really beautiful covered passage. I didn't get to it on this trip. We've been there many times before. Worth a look. Lots of beautiful little shops.
Yeah, another really good spot for especially lunch on a sunny day is the Perouge restaurant. It's the rooftop restaurant of
Printemps.
That's right.
And we went there, but it was at the time. You know what? The time didn't match what it said on the internet, just like we talked about.
I know.
Yeah, so they missed out on us visiting, but we'll still give them a shout out.
But it's a really good spot.
And the fourth one, really quickly, Musée de la Vie Romantique. I've talked about it on the show many times before, but it's a very hidden tea garden inside a museum grounds.
Yeah.
The tea and the coffee were disgusting. I remember it was like the worst hot chocolate I ever had. It really was.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
But it was so lovely.
Stick with the classics.
Yeah, or just get a glass of water.
Yeah, espresso, whatever.
And a croissant or something.
Yeah.
But worth a look. It'll be all written on the internet, the earfultower.com. But someone said that they don't listen to the end of the episode when we do the scores.
Really?
They say they skip it. So I'm going to do this one really quickly. I don't know.
Well, it might be boring.
No, we'll do it quick before we get into a little bit of tour news at the end and a look at next week. Our scores. Strollability.
9.
7.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was stroll. Affordability.
5.
4, fair enough. Shareability.
8.
7. This is going to score well, I can tell. Touristability.
8.
7. Accessibility.
7.
7. Oh, really close. Okay, so 32 total for me.
37. Exactly on par with the 10th for me.
32 and 37 makes 69. That is one of the top scoring arrondissements so far.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Not the top. Top place is 10th and 18th in a tie.
Yeah.
At 72 out of 100. Cool. It was a good district. Really
Yeah,
good
I love
district.
the 9th.
Totally worth a visit. I think have a look at where you want to go. There are places you don't want to walk, not because they're dangerous or anything, but because
it's
there's
just
just
like a
way
lot of
cooler stuff.
Yeah, a lot of like nothing streets, but also a lot of really cool streets. A lot of good secondhand shops, like vintage shopping. If you're into that, that could be another little blog post eventually.
Next week, the 8th. The elegant 8th arrondissement.
Yes.
This, I'm quite sure will be the most expensive one that we've done, because I looked at some of the famous restaurants and they're wild.
I have a few things I want to do, but we'll see.
Champs-Élysées?
Yes.
No, and what are the things you want to do?
I want to go to this restaurant, Caviar Caspia. It's on my bucket list.
I wanted to go to Maxime's.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll see.
have to have a negotiation.
Where
I
the
think.
date?
Dinner and dessert, maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the show and you want to allow it to continue to thrive, patreon.com/the Earful Tower. The other thing you can do is you can book a tour. The Earful Tower tours at the moment, it's the Marais and Montmartre, and I'm amazed at the interest. The interest has been, since we just mentioned on the last podcast.
It's a new thing, isn't
Brand
it?
new.
Yeah.
So I wrote the tours. A trusty guide will give you the tours. And I think you're going to love it. So get in touch. Send me an email while I'm still sort of putting the final touches on. Send me an email. Let me know how many people you are. Let me know when you want to go on the tour. Private tours, I'll help you make it happen. And lastly, to finish, a few words of thank you. Thanks to Eddie for editing the episode. Charlotte for background research and the website. Augusta for the photos.
Julene for the babysitting. Press Maxon for the music.
Hey, by the way, he's on fire. You know, he sent extra music.
No, he's unstoppable.
He sent me a song that he wrote called In Search of the Philip August Wall, or In Search of Philip August or something.
I love it.
Yeah, okay, so there's more of that coming. And thanks to all the Patreon members for making this happen quite literally. We'll be back again next week with the 8th arrondissement, and we look forward to sharing it with you.
See you then.